To go, sir. We are live now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's start the session for advisee session with our alumni and our senior professors who have mentored our alumni at one point of time at IIIT, more specifically at Center for Kohli Center for Intelligence Research. And in celebrating Kohli sir's passion for applied research, it's a pleasure to showcase our alumni who have carried this spirit across the world. We have today with us few alumni who represent the different area of research, sharing their advisors how the seed sown here at the Kohli Center at IIIT Hyderabad has influenced them and impacted the world. Okay, so let me invite Professor Sangal, who is also our senior faculty member, ex-director, and many other great achievements he has on his feeder in terms of contribution to Indian academia. And with him, Dr. Srikant Venkatpati, who is currently associated with senior research scientist at Amazon Research in US. Over to you, Professor Sangal.
Thank you, Avinash. It's a pleasure to be part of this session, especially dear because we are talking to our earlier PhD students who have now accomplished researchers themselves. So I want to welcome Dr. Sriram Venkatapathy. He's a machine language scientist at Amazon Boston. He's widely published and holds 11 patents. Education-wise, he did his BTech also at IIIT Hyderabad. This was way back in 2003. In fact, he was the second batch, and then joined PhD here and joined the research exchange program with University of Pennsylvania. So he was guided by both IIIT as well as Professor Joshi and Dr. Bangalore Srinivas. He spent about 2 years, first year there, then back here, and then again a year there. He worked on multi-word expressions, statistical machine translation. Later, he joined here as assistant professor at IIIT, but he had other opportunities, so he worked for 4 months. But he was teaching already while doing his PhD, and many students benefited from that. So then after that, he joined the Xerox Research Center in France. This is the Xerox Research Center Europe, and he spent 4 years there. After that, he joined Amazon and headed the Amazon R&D Center in India. This was 2015 to 2017. And yes, and then he is currently at Amazon Center in Boston, and he works on Alexa. So welcome, Sriram. It's good to see you, even though it is virtual. So I wanted to know what prompted you or inspired you to join the PhD program at IIIT.
Thanks, sir, for talking to you at such a nice event. Really privileged to have worked with you. As you mentioned, I joined IIIT as a BTech student. Research has always been an important part of the IIIT curriculum. Most courses had projects, and the honors program required 2 semesters of honors project, addition to major final year projects. Apart from that, every summer, starting from my first summer at IIIT, I have had a chance to do research at Language Technologies Research Center. And during that time, we were able to publish a couple of papers too. And we were able to go to conferences and present our work. All these contributed to fostering an interest for doing research in me. So when the opportunity of working with you and Professor Joshi from UPenn came about, I eagerly lapped it up. At that time, foregoing the campus placement at TCS was extremely difficult, but I think on the hindsight, it was totally worth it.
I think Dr. Kohli would have very much approved of it. That and he always encouraged people. He said, no, go and do research, work for the country, and so on. So you were also one of the early people who entered the research exchange program at IIIT. What benefits did you get? What benefits do you see?
Yeah, as part of research exchange program, I spent a couple of years intermittently at UPenn during the PhD. It provided me a unique opportunity of exposure to research with some of the top researchers in NLP. It was a great learning experience. I gained experience in publishing at some of the top conferences in NLP. And when I was back in IIIT, I got involved in teaching courses, guiding students, and coordinating both internal as well as external funded projects. And all this was extremely fulfilling experience for me.
So tell me, Sriram, since you were at the early years, what kind of ecosystem, research ecosystem did you find at IIIT? How was the environment at the center, at LTRC? What were the special features?
Yeah, at that time, and even now, like research centers are the primary avenues in IIIT. So at that time, research language technologies research center was one of the major research centers in NLP, and it still remains a primary research hub in India. The problems that were being worked at the center were extremely relevant to India. Students were building tools such as part of speech taggers, parsers, and machine translation systems to and fro from Indian languages. All these problems were really exciting to me as a student, and also to my fellow students. One of the major USPs of LTRC was in the use of traditional Indian linguistic knowledge in the context of modern NLP problems. And learning about that was of a great experience. I was also like really excited with my first project, which was on extracting information from resumes. And this was a project for Satyam that we delivered successfully. And that was like extremely fulfilling there.
Yes, I remember, that success. And I actually also looked up what kind, early work that we worked together on. So I looked up the old papers, and it was very heartening. But tell me, how did this PhD and research help prepare you for an international corporate job? Because you have been at Xerox, which was a leader in NLP, then Amazon, which has Alexa. So how did IIIT prepare you for that, for those?
Yeah, so PhD, I think, gave me some of the critical skills for doing quality applied research in the corporate world. During PhD, I was trained in thinking big and identifying as well as defining the right set of problems to work on. In Xerox and in Amazon, I have worked on different problems such as multilingual processing of documents to address customers from different countries. Now I work on Alexa NLU with a focus on adding more features to the understanding capability of Alexa. PhD also greatly improved how I approach new areas of research and understand the essence of different work streams. I think PhD also helped me articulate different scientific directions and think ahead. All these are tremendously helping me in my current job. So while here I was just wanted to tell in Bangalore, I was actually not heading the R&D center, but I was one of the applied scientists there. Just a correction from the intro. Yeah.
Sure. No, it's very heartening to hear what you say. Are there any anecdotes during your period as PhD, which you would like to share with people?
I think the anecdote, the thing that comes to my mind is an incident when I was teaching a course. So it was a course in NLP applications, and I had worked really hard on preparing material on stuff like hidden Markov models, maximum entropy models, and so on. And after I delivered that lecture, all the students of the course, they came to me with and said that they really enjoyed the lectures and they had lots of questions to ask. And that was an extremely memorable moment for me during the while I was doing the PhD.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah.
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Another small incident comes to my mind is also there are like lots of humanities courses that used to go on, and I attended one course on non-violence and Gandhism by Nandakishore Acharya ji. And I mean, I was like so mesmerized by when I attended a couple of those classes. It was like really eye-opening for me. So some of these are nice memories from the PhD time.
Yeah, it's good to hear that the holistic experience IIIT is trying to provide is not only useful, it is also interesting and enjoyable. Because I think the things that we do with joy, those are the things that allow us to carry for a long period. So we would like to see your association with IIIT in future. Do you see any possibilities of how you can work with IIIT with virtual things? Many things are possible that in terms of lectures and so on, but any ideas?
I've been trying to be involved in IIIT as much as I can. I've been trying to uh, guide master, or not guide, evaluate master's thesis and PhD thesis so far. But yeah, but I look forward for more opportunities to get involved with IIIT. I mean, my house is pretty close to IIIT, and when I visit India, I usually pay a visit to IIIT and meet you all there. So yeah, I like to be closely involved with IIIT and activities. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's good to hear that and good to get connected again. I met you, I think, a year ago when you were visiting Hyderabad.
Yes. Yeah.
We enjoyed that. So, all right, Sriram, thank you for your answers. So, over to you, Avinash.
Thank you, Professor Rajiv Sandal, and thanks, Sriram, for again coming in the morning from US. Now I would like to move to the next set of advisory pair. I would like to invite Professor Praveen Parichuri, who is faculty at Machine Learning Lab. He also happens to be, I think, the BTech graduate from IIIT from first batch, and then he went to US and, of course, did his PhD, and then came back and joined us as a faculty. With us, the alumni we have is Tarun, who is currently pursuing his PhD at Oxford. So over to you, Dr. Praveen, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So good evening all. I'm Praveen Parichuri. I'm a faculty with the Machine Learning Lab. The guest for today for this session is Tarun Gupta. He was a dual degree student at IIIT. He worked with my lab from 2015 to 2018. So Tarun is currently pursuing his PhD from Oxford. They call it a DPhil, Doctorate of Philosophy there. He works with Professor Shimon Weitzen in the broad areas of machine learning, multi-agent systems, with specific focus on the topic of reinforcement learning. So post completion of his work at IIIT, so Tarun actually joined as a research engineer at SMU, Singapore Management University, where he worked with Professor Akshat Kumar. And we actually continued our collaboration from here, right? So Tarun was at Singapore and we were here, and we continued that collaboration till he joined Oxford in 2019. So as part of his thesis, Tarun worked on the topic of decentralized MDPs. So he developed scalable algorithms for decentralized MDPs. So I'm going to request Tarun to provide a few more details on the research. But before going there, so let me start with the first question for today, which is how is life at Oxford currently? It being one of the, it being basically at the top of machine learning universities. So Tarun, please let us know the answer for this question. Over to Tarun.
So thanks, Professor Praveen, for the introduction. So yeah, life at Oxford is actually really great. With respect to my work, I'm currently working on developing state-of-the-art reinforcement learning methods, which enable long-term sequential decision-making. For example, an autonomous vehicle deciding whether to go left or to brake until it safely reaches its destination, all the while keeping into account the world around it. I'm working with Professor Shimon Weitzen, and we are a big group of about 15, 20 PhD students, which is like really great for collaboration and brainstorming, but it can also really become strenuous, like amidst a high energy environment, like full of ambitious peers and deadlines. But in general, living in Oxford is sort of a surreal experience, as the town is steeped in so much history. Like living here, we're surrounded by like these Gothic spires, like you can see one in my background of the Balliol College. And like there are a lot of old buildings resembling Hogwarts. And there are like plenty of opportunities to go out into nature and like a really vibrant university nightlife, obviously in pre-COVID times. Being a part of the university with a presence of a great number of academics and like notable alumni like Stephen Hawking, J.R.R. Tolkien makes it all the more awe-inspiring and like really provides the motivation for the hard work. I think the overall experience here is very different to other universities in the sense that we get to experience a lot of long-standing idiosyncratic traditions, like going to exams or formal dinners in matriculations in full academic dresses, in black suits and gowns. And yeah, I think the overall experience is a very well-balanced one, where we can get to be a part of a myriad of social organizations, such as ranging from our colleges to various other ones like the Oxford Union, where we get a chance to meet and listen to a bunch of prominent celebrities from all walks of life and attend spirited debates over a wide range of international topics. Yep.
Okay, but do you actually get time to do all these things?
So yeah, I think I sort of have to make time out of it, to get the holistic Oxford experience and not just bury myself into deadlines and work, and sort of try to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on to a little different question, which is, can you provide overview of your work at IIIT? That is your master's thesis. Can you give us a brief overview of the work here, and also a little after Singapore, which we are collaborating on?
Yeah. So at IIIT, I worked in close collaboration with Prof. Praveen and Prof. Akshat from Singapore. And like we worked on multi-agent sequential decision making, where multiple agents, for example, again, autonomous vehicles, need to make independent and safe decisions based on the local observations through like onboard cameras and sensors, while still taking into account like other dynamic entities capable of making decision making, such as humans and vehicles on the road, without any explicit communication. So the major of our model was that it was able to explicitly model interactions amongst any number of subset of agents, such that they might have to coordinate or or compete in order to achieve success. For example, ensuring that the learned decision model will not make bad decisions, such as overspeeding with high probability. Now, my thesis contributed to improving the scalability of these multi-agent sequential decision-making algorithms by leveraging the graphical structure of the interactions and using state-of-the-art probabilistic modeling techniques and reinforcement learning. Overall, this work resulted in a publication in a top-tier conference, namely AAAI, in 2018, held in New Orleans, for which I was funded by Google, Microsoft, and AAAI for an oral presentation. And so after this work, I moved to Singapore to work with Professor Akshat and worked as a research engineer at Singapore Management University for a year. I extended my IIII 2018 work, which I conducted at IIIT, with a more scalable deep reinforcement learning method, which enabled the use of transfer learning, which essentially just allows reusing learned knowledge from one task for faster learning on similar tasks, and therefore improves scalability of the overall method. This work was also accepted at IIII 2019 in Hawaii for a poster presentation.
Oh, yeah, that's great. So since you have mentioned the word reinforcement learning, just for the sake of our audience, can you just explain the concept very briefly?
So reinforcement learning is essentially connected to decision making when it's sort of the way humans learn. We interact with our environment around us, and we sort of receive feedback from the environment in a more positive or negative sense. For example, let's say a sort of pen drops on our foot, and then we get this negative reinforcement because we get a little bit hit by it. So we sort of learn on the go as we interact with the environment, and we sort of need to plan. This was just an example of an immediate feedback we got from the environment, but it can be also in the form of long-term feedback. Let's say I make a decision now, but how would that affect me, let's say 20 minutes from now or 1 year from now? So it's, reinforcement learning is all about planning and learning to make these decisions.
Okay. So any real world examples of this technology?
Oh, yes. So, I mean, as I've said multiple times, autonomous vehicles is one of the biggest selling point of reinforcement learning, as well as I would have to say recommendation systems we built in Netflix are used a lot of reinforcement learning as well, because they have to, as we interact with the system more and more, the system learns about our preferences more and more, and therefore able to suggest us better and better recommendations.
Oh. Okay, so the next question is, how did your experience at IIIT is it helping your journey, or how it has helped your journey so far? Can you provide some insights into this?
Yeah, so I'm very glad you brought up this question, actually. So my journey at IIIT really helped me in a lot of ways. Firstly, okay, the courses at IIIT with a lot of rigorous assignments, practicals, tutorials, really helped me build a rigor in the basics of machine learning and maths required for my research. And the overall research journey started with my selection to attend an AMAS summer school in Singapore in my second year, which led to a close collaboration with Prof. Akshat. Now, from there on, I go on with exploring and reading research papers and learn to really think critically about them in order to generate novel ideas. Working with multiple professors helped me gain really good collaborative skills working on projects, and working for these conference deadlines and these harsh project deadlines at IIIT courses helped me manage my time well. Finally, writing my first authored paper and giving my first talk at one of the top tier AI conferences was a really pedagogical exercise in disseminating my research to a really broad audience, succinctly. But as it was not all sunshine, roses, and unicorns, I really suffered a lot of bottlenecks, both in terms of theory and implementation, which made me miss a bunch of deadlines and result in frustration. But overall, I really learned to be persistent with it and realize that it's very natural to experience these as I'm working on something really new, which no one has worked on before. So overall, I attribute it to really early start in research, right from my second year of undergrad, which sort of gave me an understanding of the research world, its intricacies, and key abilities required for succeeding.
Okay, so this is great to hear. So I'm sure many of our students also will have something to take away from your experience. So what is some advice you can provide for students who plan to pursue a PhD? So do you have any advice, any tips for students who would like to take up a PhD in the future?
Yes. So the key thing I really want to convey about research is that it is a full roller coaster ride. With one moment you're filled up with frustration, and the other moment you sort of have a feeling of eureka, where you've figured something out you have been wondering about for a long time. This taught me a lot about being persistent, not giving up in spite of failures. And from the project start to the end, this goes on in a very cyclic manner with each subproblem you're going to encounter. And this is more or less experienced by everyone, not only in just early career research, but even later as well. The important thing to realize is that you're not alone in this journey, and brainstorming with your peers and advisors can really help break this deadlock of stagnation in your research. The second thing I would have to say is really be ambitious with respect to submitting to these top tier conferences or applying to prestigious PhD programs, as they're really well within reach with sustained focus and effort, despite the setbacks you will most likely encounter along the way. And then I have to say, try to work with professors as much as possible alongside your courses on various projects so that they can give you better recommendations, other than them being able to just say that you aced a course in the class. And then finally, I have to say, please try to give an early start to this in your second year after you're done with your basic courses in AI, computer networks, and don't worry too much about picking the right area.
Okay. So is it, I mean, given all the constraints or given all the hard work that is needed, is it really worth going for a PhD, or maybe why not take up a job offer after your BTech and at least say that, yes, I'm done as far as education is concerned? So how should students view this?
So it's really about when you go through this experience journey, you sort of learn to appreciate it more and more, and you sort of become passionate about it more and more. I had a lot of job offers at the time, from these top tier tech and finance companies. However, having achieved this success in publication really fueled my quest for research even more and motivated me to apply for PhD. I realized I can have the same job offers, if not better ones, if I want after my PhD. And I really couldn't give up this once in a lifetime opportunity for this whole experience I'm going to gain at Oxford. And during PhD, you sort of don't really miss out on these because you can do a lot of internships over the course of 4 or 5 years and ultimately get a lot of valuable industry experience you want.
Okay. So let's have the final question, which is, what do you miss about the mess at IIIT, or do you miss the mess food at IIIT? So that's the final question, and then we'll close the session here.
Sure. So I didn't used to eat a lot of mess food, actually. However, every once in a while I would, and that food was actually good, well balanced as well. A good amount of spices, though it sort of fit what I wanted. But here at Oxford, we have a really wide variety of options, in the sense, in really inexpensive ones, and they're spread all across the city. And I can indulge in a multitude of cuisines that way. However, I have to say, Indian food in Oxford is not up to the mark.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so I think we'll close the session here. So I'm very happy to note your journey so far, Tarun. So I hope to see you here on campus at some point. So with this, I'm going to hand over the session to Avinash. So Avinash, please take over.
Thank you, Tarun, and thank you, Dr. Praveen. Just one quick question is there for you, if you can answer in a minute, from Arnav Sharma. And if self-supervised learning versus reinforcement learning, which is better, and if then why?
So I have to say, reinforcement learning is in this current scenario is a little bit restricted, in the sense that we need a lot of data for it, and it's the sample efficiency is not that effective at this point. And in fact, one of my thesis is sort of mostly going to be on similar improving sample efficiency of the reinforcement learning methods. And I have to say, at this point, reinforcement learning is sort of getting there, but we sort of need to still work on it a lot.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Tarun and Dr. Praveen again. Yes. Now I would like to request Dr. Anup Nambudri, who is also a faculty member at IIIT in Center for Visual Information Technology, and Rajat, who is also a graduate from IIIT and co-founder of the company DreamWoo, along with Dr. Anup, which is doing really well in the area of computer vision with reconstructing 3D depth cameras. They're producing it as a product company. So over to Dr. Anup and Rajat.
Thank you, Avinash.
Thank you, Dr. Avinash.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, Rajat. So My name is Anoop. I'm a faculty member here at IIIT Hyderabad, and I would, this is a chat between me and my ex-student Rajat Agarwal. Rajat was an honor student at IIIT at some point, then started to work with me on some of the difficult problems in computational imaging. I was looking for a student, since I did not know much about computational imaging at that time. I was looking for a student who would kind of make up for my lacunae of knowledge in that area, and Rajat was interested in working in that area and started to work on it, and the work led to a paper in one of the top conferences at CVPR, and then later to this company that Avinash mentioned, DreamView. So in this interaction, I would like to take you through the journey that we went through, primarily from Rajat's point of view. So Rajat, can you tell me a little bit about the problem that we worked on at IIIT and the transition of that from a basic idea all the way to when it became fruitful and resulted in a publication at CVPR? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Professor Anoop, and thanks, Dr. Avinash, for conducting this session. Because, yeah, we've been obviously interacting daily, and now we don't know what to talk about. So I would say, as you mentioned, that it was now at least 6 years ago. That's where the journey started, and I still remember I was very naive guy at that time, as compared to what I am today. Um, when we started 2015, we said that, okay, there have been many cameras coming around from big companies like Google, Samsung, Sony, and all of them were creating kind of 360-degree 3D videos by using a standard technology like putting multiple cameras all around and then capturing it, and then they would process it by using high-end GPUs. And it was just felt that it's a very, very bulky system. And we were looking at that, okay, even Disney Research came at that point of time with this kind of approach. And we thought, can we solve this problem of capturing this 360 and 3D by a single sensor? Because if you are using multiple cameras and each camera is like $1,000, $2,000 each, then if you make like a system with 32 cameras, it will be like $32,000. And that was the actual price if you just go ahead with some of the open source products that were coming out at that point of time. We said it's not at all, kind of consumer friendly. And can you make it very low cost? Because that was the idea of computational imaging at that time. Um, and then we started looking at some of the basic principles in computational imaging that were out there in early 90s. Came from Professor Shmuel Peleg, etc. And they talk about capturing all this with a simple parabolic mirror or putting two parabolic mirrors, etc. So that was the real motivation behind our idea that if these are the kind of new or weird looking optics can be made, then you may be able to capture everything with just a single sensor. And then we realized that all of those cameras are just monoscopic. They cannot capture 3D. Those can only capture 2D data, and you can manufacture them, and they're very low cost. But then we said, okay, can you actually capture 3D with these kind of optics? And that's where our research started. And that's when one day we were just sitting in Professor Anoop's office, and he had a coffee filter, typically the US coffee filter. And when you obviously are in Professor Anoop's office, you will see some weird kind of things which you will never see in normal life. Only he will have all those things in collections from his PhD time. And we just looked at that coffee filter, and then it was our eureka moment, and we said that can we design something like this? Can we actually design something like a coffee filter that allows us to capture 360 degree videos from two viewpoints called stereoscopic. And so that was a fundamental eureka moment for both of us. And then we started designing around it, around the same optics. We looked at the vendors, because one of the difficult problem for us was that, yes, you're talking about all these optics, but is it can it be manufactured or not? Okay. And that's when the real challenge started. So I would say Professor Noops and we have worked in now so many problems where he come up with some moonshot idea, okay, and then he just leave it on me to go and execute, and I have to find out vendors who can actually manufacture it. So that's how the journey started, and then we spent almost 2 years in getting the manufacturing of that optics right, and then we kind of got the idea published in CVPR in 2016, early 2017. So that's how our journey kind of started.
Okay, good. So I know that life does not always go the way you plan it, and I know that you always wanted to do a PhD when you started with me, and you first converted from a 4-year BTech student to a dual degree student from there, and then I was pretty sure that you're going for a PhD. So what convinced you to take this idea and actually convert it into a startup?
Hmm.
Uh, who convinced you, and what role did Triple IT play in that?
Yeah, I think I never wanted to do business. That was never it is in my blood for sure, because my whole family is full of business guys, but um, it was not my dream. You know, I never saw myself like a businessman. Um, and then one day, I think when we filed the patent of this technology, right? Then I still recall that we were just thinking about, what are the future plans for this research idea? What can be done, other things, because we already got it published in CPR. Now we're thinking to submit the extended version of it in PAMI and IGCV, those kind of venues. Um, I remember like our patent attorneys kind of gave that suggestion to you that, this is something which is amazing. And, there are many corporates working on this idea, right? And if many corporates are working, because typically patent attorneys would know what's happening in the market. And our idea at that point of time is very much from the research and the academia point of view. We were not looking at, what is happening in the market actually. And that was a booming point of virtual reality, augmented reality. And that's when companies like Magic Leap, all those came, right? Um, and when they gave an idea that, can this be commercialized? It sounded like, yes, this is one thing that we have never looked at. So why don't we look at this aspect of, this problem statement? And that's when, it struck me that, yes, I can always go back and do PhD. Okay. But this is the chance for me to take this problem statement, or the baby, now we call it, right? To a grown up, and because it's a difficult problem, okay, and it's not been solved till now, right? And there is definitely target market potential, so let's look at it. And then in 2017 we kind of started together, right? Obviously we went to Professor Pijan and Professor Vasudev Verma to take their advice, because I had no idea about how to kind of start. um, and when we went there, they kind of gave us a direction that, hey, look for the angel investors, position your idea as a solution. And that's when the whole story changed. That's I think that's when I will call it as the transition point, which is very important for any research idea, or what you call it as from lab to market. That was a transition point for us, where we said, okay, now we need to position it like a problem, like a solution, get the funds, get the team up and running, incorporated as a company, and then look for your customers.
So that points me, so that's almost literally 4 years back. We just celebrated our 4 years of incorporation last week. So how do you think, like, from your first idea of what a startup is and jumping into this new life to 4 years from then, now looking at as a company which is, not in it's still young, but not in its, hopefully not in its infancy. Uh, how has your understanding of a startup changed from the initial stage when you think of, yes, we will just do a startup, we will create a product out of it, sell it to people and make money, was the initial thought. From there to how a well organized company should run, or at least still with the characteristic of a startup maybe, but how has it changed? How has your outlook changed, and how has life changed with that?
I think life is still changing every day, every minute. Okay. It's like, I won't even call it as a roller coaster, right? Because there is no coming down. There's only going up if you're doing right things. But every minute, I feel like we're all learning, we're all changing. As a first-time entrepreneur, we have a lot of things to learn. And when we were in college, idea of our startup was very, very casual. We were like, okay, startup is something where you just start, and then you'll be hanging out with some nice people, and then enjoying on the weekends, have beer party and all those things. And at the same time, you'll be making money. And we're like, okay, making money is easy. Okay, say making money is very difficult than solving a research problem. And getting, obviously, from just the idea to a startup and then making it as a company are different kind of problems. Okay. And I think that because we have that engineer attitude, so we take every minute as a problem, so we can solve that as an entrepreneur. But then we still think like, it's an engineering problem for us to solve, whether it's sales. For us, sales also is like an engineering problem now, like how to crack sales, right? So I would say that every minute is changing, and it's a completely different ideas of, what is just a research thing, and what you do as a company.
Okay, so we have only a couple of minutes left. So in the meantime, do you want to give any advice to uh, people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think yes, for sure. I think Triple IT, I feel like when I started from Triple IT, obviously, the support that I got from KCIS, Triple IT, CIE, in filing our patent, and then from there, converting into transferring the technology to the company, etc., etc. And obviously, our initial funding, our first investors were Triple IT. I think right now Triple IT has got a lot more kind of funding avenues, okay, which is very important for any research idea, which students should and must, look forward to commercialize. Because I think a lot of our problems that I've seen, especially in CVIT and RRC, are very much related to what many of these big corporations are trying to solve, and they are not able to solve because of their corporate issues, right? And that's why they need these kind of problems to be solved by startups, right? And the kind of state of the art research that is happening in Triple IT, I know that all of those problems are still there, which industry is trying to solve. Okay, I would say that this is the time when students should definitely take risks, and nothing will happen, like, because we're still in early 2023 24s, and even if we just risk our 2 years 3 years, nothing will happen. Okay. And I think every research student should think about it at least once, that can they take a risk and then commercialize their technology.
Thank you, Rajat. We are really out of time.
Yeah.
So always nice to see when your students grow up and prosper. So in some sense, continue to work with you after that. It's nice. It's a good feeling. Thank you. Back to
Thank you
you.
so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajat, and thank you, Dr. Anup. And
Take
now
it
I
up
would
from
like
there.
to invite Professor Deva Priyakumar, who is a faculty member here at CCNSB, where he's doing research in natural sciences, applying technology, applying modeling, mathematical modeling. And also Dr. Abhishek, who is an alumni from IIIT and currently a faculty at Wisconsin Medicine. So over to you, Professor Deva.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Avinash. So it's a great pleasure to be part of this session. So thank you, you and also all the other organizers and everyone. So Abhishek, you online?
Yeah.
Hi, welcome. So it's so good to see you. I've been thinking, or we've been looking forward to doing this kind of interrogation for quite some time now, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good to see you. So how
Yeah.
is everything going on? How is everything okay?
Yeah, it's going on fine. I mean, things are fine here. It was cold a few months ago, but I guess it's fine now.
Oh, nice. So before we start, just a quick correction or just edit to what Avinash said. Actually, Abhishek was one of our first students in the CND program, as we call the the computational natural sciences dual degree program. And his thesis advisors or the advisors at the time were Dr. Harjinder and Dr. Indranil Chakrabarti. Right. So with that, Abhishek, when was the last time we met? About a year ago, 2 years ago?
I think it was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's always very nice to catch up with you. Okay, so let's not take too much time. I just want to quickly, introduce Dr. Abhishek Deshpande. So he joined. He was actually one of the first, students in the CND program. As I said, he joined in the first batch of this program in 2009. And he finished, he got the BTech and MS degrees from here, and then moved on to doing PhD in Imperial College London. He also partially spent time in TFR Bombay on a collaborative work. And after his PhD in Imperial College, he moved on to the Department of Mathematics in University of Wisconsin Madison, where he's a Van Fleck visiting assistant professor. So he does a lot of work in the areas of reaction networks, systems, and engineering biology. I think we will let him talk about his work. But I also wanted to mention that he's one of the students who took up research at a very, very early stage when he was at IIIT. For example, just when he just finished his first year of his BTech and MS, he actually visited Fields Institute in Toronto and then spent 2-3 months there. And then that's where I think he started, possibly did his first research project at the end of first year. And not just that, I mean, he did several, kind of visiting fellowships in TFR and then in ICER Kolkata, while, he was still an undergrad and master's student, right? So, okay, so Abhishek, you want to talk a little bit about the work that you did here and how that kind of connected to the work that you did later during your PhD and now?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Deva, for the introduction. So I think I worked on slightly different areas throughout the course of when I started at IIIT. So my master's thesis, supervised by Professor Harjinder Singh and Indranil Chakrabarti, focused on quantum control and quantum information. So that's the area that I was working on while at IIIT. So the quantum control part involved things like designing laser pulses to drive a certain system from one state to another while you maximize a certain sort of cost. And the quantum information part focused on something called as state merging. I mean, I won't go into technical details, but it was just things related to amount of communication required to information from one party to another. So that's the idea for my undergraduate thesis. And my PhD was slightly on a different topic. So during my PhD, I explored fundamental energy cost time trade-offs in performing information processing tasks like switching or erasing a bit. And towards the end of my PhD, I also worked on exploring trade-offs between modularity and energy consumption in designing biological circuits. So the idea to design efficient biological circuits. And now, as Dr. Deva mentioned during my postdoc, I'm analyzing mathematical models of biological interaction networks. So in particular, I'm interested in exploring long-term properties like whether species can go extinct or whether they persist in solution. And I guess this kind of area has widespread applications to population dynamics, spread of infectious diseases and ecology. So yeah, I guess that's in a nutshell what I've been doing till this point.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. It's so exciting to see. We saw you, just after your high school, and now you are a, visiting assistant professor in University of Madison, Wisconsin Madison. It's really nice to see, how you have grown in terms of, taking up research in multiple areas, and then you kind of settled in mathematical modeling and applied math. It's really nice. It's great. Okay, so we don't have a lot of time, so let's talk a little bit about your time at Triple IT. For example, you are, as I said, you are the first students in the CND program where you majored both in computer science and also in computational natural sciences. So, how do you think this kind of confluence helped you in your journey after leaving Triple IT?
Yeah, so I guess that CND was a unique program that gave us a flavor of both uh, computer science and natural science courses. So the idea was that we took core courses in computer science like programming or data structures, operating systems, and also basic courses in natural sciences like biomolecular chemistry, statistical mechanics, and quantum computing during the early phase of this program. And I think that this really helped because a lot of modern day research is interdisciplinary and it requires the integration of techniques and perspectives from multiple disciplines to further the understanding of fundamental problems. And I think that having a background in both computer science and natural sciences helps in tackling a wider range of problems than would otherwise have been possible with background in just one of these subjects, for example. And it allows us to sort of embrace new ideas and come up with creative solutions to some of today's most challenging problems. So I think it was a great idea to have this, combination of both courses. Now that I see 10 years down the line.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. So, I will make sure that, most of our CND current students, listen to you. All right, so let me ask slightly a little bit of a personal question. In your when you are here, life at Triple IT Hyderabad, right? If you think of, let's say, after like 6 or 7 years after you left, if you think of Triple IT Hyderabad, what are the things that come to your mind?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of things. So, I mean, that was my time as an undergrad. So just out of high school, I mean, first of all, I enjoyed my interaction with fellow students. So I got to interact with students from different cultures. I haven't been exposed to that during, up till my time at high school. And also enjoyed my interaction with faculty members. I guess they were quite friendly and I got to learn a lot from them. And I guess one aspect that I think distinguished Triple IT from other institutes, now that I see 6 years down the line, is that the idea that it has centers instead of rigid departments. And I think this makes a huge difference because, Triple IT as an institute has a heavy focus on interdisciplinary research with collaboration among faculty from different centers. So you don't have rigid departments as such, and people can, mix through quite easily and exchange ideas. And of course, it has, as I mean, everyone is aware, one of the most comprehensive curriculums in the country for computer science and, other branches. So that was on the academic side. But apart from that, I also have fond memories of the IIIT messes and the very popular canteen. I remember I also miss the savory samosas and the veg puffs that we used to line up for in the evening. And of course, I also miss the annual cultural tea and the intense preparation that goes on before it. So yeah, I really miss IIIT, definitely.
Yeah, cool, nice. We'll make sure you eat in the mess and eat in the canteen when you visit us next time. At least a meal. All right, so let's talk about your, let's go back to your research aspects a little bit. Okay, so in IIIT, we kind of emphasize on undergrad students getting exposure to research environment. Almost all students at IIIT get involved in research in some way or other, right? So how do you think that aspect helped you, or how did that affect your future or the later activities in research? Yeah.
See. So, I mean, I now think that I feel very lucky to be enrolled in the CND program. I'm really fortunate that I was part of this program. And throughout my time at IIIT, my mentors, Professor Harjinder Singh and also Professor Deva Priyakumar, who is now the head of CCNSB, were extremely supportive in encouraging me to do research, just as an undergrad. So as Dr. Deva mentioned, I got an opportunity to do internship at the Fields Institute and other institutes during my time as an undergrad. And they gave me complete freedom to pursue this kind of academic internships and other training throughout my time. And I'm really grateful for their sagacity and guidance. And I mean, as I mentioned, that this, as we talked earlier, that this was sort of a mixture of computer science and natural sciences. And I think that helped me sort of kickstarted to sort of delve into areas which I couldn't have if I just had background in, just one of these areas. And so we took core courses during our early years, and then later from the third year, we started an honors research project, right just from the third year, which eventually culminated in a master's thesis. And I guess this, this research training with internships and also these courses really helped us prepare to undertake, graduate level research work. So I think that was really useful.
Cool. Nice. I don't think we have a lot of time left. Maybe, just a follow-up question on that one, right? So, you spoke about how the research environment here kind of was useful, but, do you think of, any instance or anything at later, you thought that, okay, this particular experience was really nice. I'm just putting you on the spot, but if you quickly think of something, yeah.
I mean, as I said, that the internships at Fields Institute and TIFR, I guess, were really sort of helped me, understand research. So that was one thing, and also, so that was one thing. And the other thing was the projects that I did with Professor Harjinder during my, BTech honors and the master's thesis. They were quite instrumental in sort of understanding how research is done. What are the problems that you encounter when you do research, and that really helped us prepare. So I would single out these two instances to be really the turning point for me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Abhishek. I think we have to wind up now. It's really, it was really nice and great catching up. I think we should do it again for a longer time period sometime soon.
Certainly.
Over online or when you visit us. Also, I hope that you will, like now, keep in touch with us and possibly also work with some of our students, to take up, some of the guides, some research students and so on. So as usual, we look forward to continue engaging with you and working with you. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Thanks for joining.
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you, Deva, and thank you, Abhishek. It was really nice session. And I would like to thank all panelists and participants on behalf of program committee for this event, holiday event, to basically join this session and then share your experiences. And again, I hope that many students would see these recordings later and get benefited from the kind of exposure they have got or the information they got from experience of alumni. And I'm sure there are many more success stories IIIT has and KCIS has on its palette for basically the way we impacted. I would like now to pass the baton to for the next session. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.